Why is the Russo-Ukrainian War devolved into trench warfare?
A viewer asked me the First World War was a static war, the Second World War was a movement war, and the war in Ukraine is a static one. What's the difference between them?
And the answer to that is mainly air power.
World War I actually was a maneuver war until one day it wasn't. Originally, Germany had the Schlieffen Plan,
which is essentially a race to the sea, and they got stopped. Now, back then,
air power was kind of in its infancy, and these planes couldn't do much.
a little bit of bombing, a little bit of scouting, but they're really changing the war at the operational and tactical level, not at the strategic level. And so both sides stayed in trenches, making incremental gains.
Yeah, early tanks helped with maneuver warfare, but not as much as you think.
The real answer is that Germany was fighting on multiple fronts. They ran out of men and food.
World War II comes along, and you have tanks.
But now aircraft were more persistent. They could fly in the air for longer, and they also had radios to communicate stuff back to the ground. They could drop bombs with some accuracy. And Germany had 5,900 planes as compared to the UK and France, who only had like 2,900 planes or so. That's like a 2-to-1 advantage. So in a LSCO or large-scale combat operation type conflict, the side with more planes tends to gain air dominance. You gain air dominance, it makes it very hard to move supplies to the front lines. So why is the war in Ukraine devolved into trench warfare? Well, honestly, it comes down to lack of air power on both sides.
At the start of the war, Ukrainian pilots fought bravely, but they didn't have the aircraft to defend their territory or counterattack into Russia. And while Russia had the aircraft, they just couldn't gain air dominance over Ukraine.
And yes, some of that's because Ukrainian pilots fought like wolves and wouldn't let them, but the other part is deconfliction. Russia was really afraid to send jets over Ukraine because they didn't want to accidentally shoot them down with their extensive surface-to-air missile system. Deconfliction is hard, so it was just easier for Russia not to send planes over Ukraine.
And you still see that today. Russia drops glide bombs from their own territory
because they just never established air dominance.
Operation Desert Storm's 5-week air campaign led to a 3-day ground offensive. Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan took less than 6 weeks to take down the Taliban. Operation Iraqi Freedom back in 2003 took about a month.
When you can fly anywhere you want and drop bombs on logistical and command and control nodes, it makes it very, very difficult for your adversary to defend. You might have built trenches, and that's great, but those trenches are manned by guys who need fuel, supplies, and food. So that's kind of what's happening in Ukraine. Neither side was able to gain strategic air dominance and kind of fly into the enemy's territory with absolute impunity. Although there is air dominance at the tactical and operational level, at the local level. But if you can't gain air dominance, you can't intercept logistics. If you can't intercept logistics, the supplies at the front just keep growing, and guys can just keep fighting until one side is exhausted. No different than Germany during World War I. Hey, one more thing. Check to see if you're subscribed. It seems like people are being unsubscribed by YouTube.